Jasmine Crockett torched GOP hypocrisy on immigration, visas, and Melania's Einstein status. Trump loyalists had no comeback. Let's break down how Representative Crockett exposed the Republican visa scam, shredded xenophobia, and embarrassed Trumpism, right here in the clip.
Gentleman yields. The chair now recognizes the gentlelady from Texas, Ms. Crockett.
Thank you so much. It's interesting that we're being accused of wanting all kinds of criminals to be on the streets, or that we don't believe that people should show up to their meetings and appointments. Last time I checked, there's a lot of people that are actually being grabbed as they are going in for their appointments. In fact, we know that one of the candidates that was recently running in this mayoral, he ended up being arrested because he decided that he was actually going to escort people that are actually showing up to their meetings. Or we know that the Pope, yes, the Pope himself, decided that the church may need to have people that are going to escort people as they're going into their meetings. Because the reality is that what they are claiming what they want to do versus what they're actually doing, the actions don't match up. And while we are supposed to be talking about visas, somehow we continue to cherry pick and talk about one criminal act and another criminal act. And it is so very interesting to me that, yes, we will say people are xenophobic, because when you start to decide that just because somebody came from another country, they are automatically some kind of criminal, that does sound kind of xenophobic to me, because you are using a paintbrush to paint an entire group of people where the vast majority of them are coming here because they are actually seeking a better life. But let me get to what this hearing is supposed to be about. The idea that Trump and my Republican colleagues want to restore integrity and security in the visa process is actually a joke. Let me be clear, integrity is not snatching lawful visa holders off the streets and throwing them into unmarked vans. Integrity is not revoking visas based on social media posts that hurt somebody's little feelings because kids decide that they want to go after Trump or this administration. We have a thing called free speech in this country. And since we're talking about integrity, I'm confused as to why my Republican colleagues aren't talking about the lack of integrity when it comes to the president's family's visas. Let me remind y'all that Melania, the First Lady, a model, and when I say model, I'm not talking about Tyra Banks, Cindy Crawford, or Naomi Campbell level, applied for and was given an EB-1 visa. And what that stands for is an Einstein Visa. Now, y'all that don't know, let me tell you how you receive an Einstein Visa. You're supposed to have some sort of significant achievement, like being awarded a Nobel Peace Prize or a Pulitzer, being an Olympic medalist, or having other sustained extraordinary abilities and success in sciences, arts, education, business, or athletics. Last time I checked, the First Lady had none of those accolades under her belt. It doesn't take an Einstein to see that the math ain't mathin' here. Nevertheless, what Republicans are doing with this reconciliation process, the travel bans and revoking visas, jeopardizes our national security. It threatens our communities, our higher education, and our economy. Visas like the largely vetted J visas for higher education and M visas for trade, training, attract the next innovators, medical providers, researchers, and educators that we need to build on American success. I'm not gonna mess up your name, so I'm not doing that. But I'm with you, okay? In your experience, do individuals on J or M visas typically improve or impair our economy?
They generally improve the economy, and I can give a brief example. My wife is a very successful woman. She makes a ton of money, which I'm grateful for. And the reason why we're able to do that while having 3 children is because of the au pair visa, somebody who is here on a J. Okay. Who is here and able to supply this for us. But I also want to defend Melania real quick. Not everybody could marry Donald Trump, and I think that's quite an achievement. So I think she deserves credit for that. Nobody up here could have done it.
You sure right, I couldn't do it. But anyway, in fact, J visa holders contribute $43.8 billion to the U.S. economy and support more than 300,000 jobs. And make no mistake, immigrants improve the health of U.S. citizens too. Despite the fact we already have a doctor shortage, Trump's reckless travel ban and visa overhaul are exacerbating this crisis by impairing hundreds of hospitals with foreign-trained doctors set to do their residencies here in the United States, meaning fewer people will get the help they need and more people will die. Now, let me remind you that Republicans are trying to gut Medicaid. Roughly 4.5 million people receive caregiver services through Medicaid, and most of these folks are in red states. And wouldn't you know that in 2023, Kaiser Family Foundation estimated that almost 30% of long-term care providers, or home caretakers were immigrants. It's like Republicans want Americans to suffer. Now, Republicans say visas make us less secure, but let's talk about how visas given to victims of crimes like rape, murder, human trafficking, torture, abduction, kidnapping, to help law enforcement with their investigation or prosecutions of these crimes. These folks are risking their own security for broader safety of Americans and our communities. Thank you so much. I will yield.
Gentlelady yields, and our chair now recognizes him.
Jasmine Crockett just dismantled the Republican narrative on immigration, shredded their faux integrity claims, and exposed their hypocrisy live. In a hearing that was supposed to be about visas and national security, Republicans turned the conversation into a circus of xenophobia, gaslighting, and pure fiction. And Congresswoman Crockett wasn't having it. She grabbed the mic, brought the facts, and lit the GOP's nonsense on fire, layer by layer, claim by claim. From the very start, Crockett made it clear Republicans aren't interested in facts. They're interested in fear, in painting immigrants as threats, in pretending Trump was a hero, in pretending Melania earned her way into America on merit. Spoiler, she didn't. The hearing began, like so many others lately, with Republicans ranting about crime, about visas, about the border invasion, you know, the usual MAGA talking points. But Crockett pointed out something they didn't expect. The facts don't match the outrage. She reminded everyone that real people, lawful visa holders, are being abducted by ICE while showing up for their appointments. She reminded them that Trump's immigration regime didn't just go after criminals, it went after anyone with brown skin and a legal document. She reminded them that the Pope, yes, the Pope, had to suggest escorts for immigrants trying to comply with US law. That's not security. That's state-sponsored intimidation. And then she went in deeper. She didn't just call out the cruelty, she exposed the hypocrisy. Republicans love to talk about merit-based immigration. But when it comes to Melania Trump, suddenly the bar disappears. Melania got an Einstein Visa, a visa reserved for Nobel laureates, Olympians, Pulitzer winners, and world-class innovators. Her extraordinary ability, being a model, and not even a household name model. As Crockett put it, I'm not talking Tyra Banks or Naomi Campbell. This wasn't high fashion. This was political favoritism. Let's be real. Melania's greatest achievement was marrying Donald Trump. And somehow that got her an elite immigration pathway that's denied to thousands of actual innovators. Crockett exposed that truth with precision, and it stung. The GOP had nothing to say, but she wasn't finished. She pivoted to the real costs of Republican visa policy, economic, humanitarian, and moral. She reminded the room that J and M visa holders are critical to America's education and innovation infrastructure. These are students, researchers, and trainees, people who power hospitals, universities, tech startups, and trade programs, people who pay taxes, support families, and drive the economy, people who, under Trump, were targeted, harassed, and rejected because someone didn't like their social media posts. That's not integrity. That's authoritarianism. Crockett called it what it is: fragility weaponized as policy. And let's talk about numbers. J visa holders contribute $43.8 billion to the US economy. They support over 300,000 jobs. That's not an invasion, that's an investment. Meanwhile, Trump's travel bans and mass visa cancellations left hospitals short on doctors, especially in rural and underserved areas. Doctors, nurses, medical residents blocked from helping Americans because of Trump's racist paranoia. That's not national security, that's national neglect. Then Crockett dropped the Medicaid bomb. Over 4.5 million Americans rely on Medicaid for long-term care services. And you know who provides those services? Immigrants. In 2023, nearly 30% of caregivers in long-term care were foreign-born. And guess which states depend on them the most? Red states. So when Republicans attack visa programs, they're attacking their own voters, their own communities, their own grandmothers. It's almost like they want Americans to suffer. And then she brought it full circle by talking about U visas. U visas are reserved for victims of crimes like rape, torture, trafficking, and kidnapping. People who put themselves at risk to help U.S. law enforcement investigate and prosecute violent crimes. These are the people Republicans want to deport. Think about that. They say immigrants are criminals, and then they deport crime victims who are cooperating with police. It's cruelty disguised as policy, and Crockett wasn't about to let that stand unchallenged. She reclaimed her time, she reclaimed the narrative, and she reminded America that compassion is not weakness, that facts matter, that immigrants are not the problem, they're the solution. She reminded them that the GOP's real issue isn't immigration, it's inclusion. They don't fear chaos, they fear change. They fear a future where brown and black immigrants help shape the nation's progress. They fear a country where truth beats lies and diversity beats division. So they spread fear. They spread myths. They hide behind fake integrity while handing out Einstein visas to trophy wives and banning doctors from helping sick kids. That's who they are. And Jasmine Crockett laid it all out, like a prosecutor making closing arguments against an entire party. She wasn't angry, she wasn't hysterical, she was prepared, principled, and precise. And the contrast was stunning. On one side, Crockett, an attorney, a legislator, and a truth teller. On the other side, Republicans flailing to defend policies that make no sense and protect no one. Policies that make America sicker, poorer, dumber, and meaner. Let's be honest, this isn't about border security. It's about political theater. It's about distracting the public from Trump's 34 felony convictions, his civil fraud, his sexual assault verdicts, his election interference, and his unhinged social media rants. They think if they scream visa fraud loud enough, we'll forget Trump tried to overthrow democracy. We won't. We remember everything. And thanks to voices like Jasmine Crockett, America is remembering what real leadership sounds like. It sounds like truth. It sounds like facts. It sounds like compassion with a backbone. So the next time a Republican claims they care about national security, ask them, why did they ban foreign doctors? Why did they revoke visas from kids? Why did they stay silent about Melania's Einstein Visa? Why do they deport survivors of human trafficking? Why are they trying to gut Medicaid in red states that rely on immigrant caretakers? The answers are uncomfortable, but Crockett's courage is louder than their lies, and America heard it. Thanks for watching. If you're done with Republican fear-mongering and ready to fight for facts, fairness, and the future, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and share this video. We're not here to play along. We're here to call it out, stand our ground, and push this country forward. Together. Stay bold, stay loud, stay in the fight, because democracy doesn't defend itself, and neither should we.